Listen, I know Mike is just trying to make Abby happy, but I would have been straight up with her and just said, hell no, we're not going back. Like, you're telling me you want to go back to the same place where a bunch of animatronics possessed by kids tried to kill me. You know what? This is how FNAF 2 would have started if it was real.
Michael! I want to go see my friends again!
What is this?
It's my friends! I want to go see my friends!
Oh. Bitch, no! No! You don't get to go back! I almost died! No! One night at Freddy's.
Yeah, that version sucked a lot more than the actual movie. Welcome back to my 2 cents, everyone, and today I'm going to be giving you my spoiler review of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. You better strap in because this is going to be a long one. But please don't click off, okay? I have a lot of things to say about this movie, but I'm going to try to keep this video to about 15 minutes or less. As the title of the video suggests, this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen FNAF 2 yet and you don't want to get spoiled, go watch the movie and then come back and watch this review. The reason I'm making this my first spoiler review is because there is so much to this movie and so much stuff that happens in it that only the fans would get. Also, it is kind of too late to have a spoiler-free review at this point. Anyways, enough of my yapping. Let's get into the characters. Of course, starting off with Mike. Mike is still the normal and relatable guy that he was in the last movie. And again, I think that's part of the reason why he gets even less screen time in this movie. He's just trying to move on from everything that happened, and he's trying to even get closer with Vanessa, if you know what I mean. But of course, Mike gets dragged back into this whole situation by Abby and Vanessa. I love that they continue to make Mike essentially the audience, because he asks all the right questions and, in my opinion, makes all the right decisions. I mean, going back to the destroyed pizzeria to ask the kid spirits to help Abby was a bit of a Hail Mary, but I'll allow it. But cutting Vanessa out was absolutely the right choice. Yes, she's now an op to look out for in the future, but if someone consistently lied to you, even when you're about to die, you would cut them out too. His sister just got possessed by what he can only assume is a demon, and the spirit that possesses Golden Freddy just appeared out of nowhere and told him to watch his back. I'm sure he was like, I'm just done with this shit. Anyway, I'd say Mike is still my favorite character for now. Now, like I said in my out of theater reaction to this movie, Abby is definitely a better character in this movie than she was in the last movie. She actually has a good relationship with Mike, as she should, and she's actually making friends at school. But she still misses her animatronic friends, and that causes her to ignore so many red flags. I understand that she's still a kid, but I think an 11-year-old would pick up on the weird fact that her friends are now in different and brand new animatronic bodies, and are making vaguely threatening comments towards your teacher, even if he is an asshole. Which, by the way, I don't think enough people caught on to the fact that the teacher in this movie is played by Wayne Knight, which, if you don't know, was Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park and was, I forgot his name from Space Jam. I thought that was actually really cool, but I'm also happy that Toy Chica crushed his skull. Anyways, there is a part of me that does still like that Abby has that innocence about her, and she is our connection to the animatronics, but on the other hand, it is so annoying how naive she is to any dangerous situation. Hopefully she'll actually learn from this movie and be less naive in the third movie. And oh boy, do I have some words for this bitch.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Again, like I said, I think she has definitely improved as a character in this movie in many ways. She acts much less like an animatronic, she's letting Mike help her through her trauma, and to her credit, she is helpful where it counts. But my god, do some of her decisions in this movie infuriate me. I know she's been through a lot, and I guess she didn't expect the marionette or Charlotte, whatever you want to call her, was going to be free, or that her brother was still alive, but that doesn't mean you lie and keep secrets from your only support system. Literally, after the toy animatronics escape the original pizzeria and Vanessa is about to go after them, she tells Mike no more lies and that she's sorry for lying this long. Then Michael Afton, her brother, shows up at Mike and Abby's house with the toy animatronics to try to kill them. Which, of course, Vanessa never told Mike that she had any siblings. We'll talk about Michael in a minute, but this is what made Mike say, "Stay away from us." Now, that does cause Vanessa to be possessed by Charlotte because she was vulnerable in that moment, but Mike could not have known that, and admittedly, I was kind of sad to see the downfall of Vanessa, and now knowing at the end of the movie that she is going to be coming after Mike and Abby, but I can't say that that wasn't a little bit deserved on her part. Now let's talk about William Afton a little bit. William is in this movie even less than he was in the first movie, which totally sucks, and I wish we could have seen more of him, but on the other hand, it does make sense, because Matthew Lillard was told that William Afton is going to be kind of like the Voldemort of this franchise, and they are definitely staying true to that. Although we don't see much of him, what we do see of him is great. I loved the opening scene of him killing Charlotte, and the whole scene in Vanessa's dream where he tells her about how she was made for something great and she was always his favorite. That was some phenomenal acting from Matthew Lillard there. And this all just makes me more excited for when we finally get to see him as Springtrap in the third movie. Now let's talk about one of the mystery characters that wasn't really a mystery at all. Henry Emily, who is played by Skeet Ulrich, is the father of Charlotte and is William Afton's business partner, or at least he was. If you don't know, in the games, Henry Emily was the one who handled the whole business corporate side of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, while William Afton made all the robotics. And just like in the game's lore, Afton's first kill was Henry Emily's daughter, Charlotte, except in the movie, she doesn't give life to the animatronics. But anyway, Henry is a very important character in the franchise because in FNAF 6, he is the one who finally sets all the animatronics free and kills William Afton once and for all. At least that's where I say the story ends. I know he probably came back in some way after that, but I don't care. However, in the movie, Henry doesn't know that Charlotte possesses the marionette until the post-credits message. At least I think he does. I think Skeet Ulrich does an amazing job at portraying Henry. For having not much material to go off of, I think he perfectly embodied that character. But I have a good feeling that Henry has so much more to do in this story. Also, I'm sure the Scream fans, including myself, would love to see a scene between Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard. Now, if you haven't watched my review of the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie, if you haven't, you should. I had a theory that Mike was actually Michael Afton and didn't know that William Afton was his father. Turns out I was totally wrong because Michael Afton is in this movie. And when he first appeared, I was like, oh, that's super cool, because that might mean he might try to help Henry or our other protagonists take down William like he does in the games. But no, turns out he's just as evil as his father. And honestly, he kind of pissed me off, especially towards the end, because he's just a much lesser and more maniacal version of his father. And that's not what I expected Michael to be, nor how I wanted him to be portrayed. Listen, I can appreciate changing things from the original source material to mislead fans and make the story feel more fresh, but to me, this was not a good change. Also, we get a cameo from Baby in Vanessa's dream, who, if you don't know, is the main animatronic from Sister Location, and her eyes are already green, which in the games, Baby is possessed by William Afton's youngest daughter. And in the games, Baby's eyes changed from blue to green to signify that she was possessed because William Afton's youngest daughter had green eyes. So does this mean that we're going to see the Funtime animatronics at some point and possibly hear more from the rest of Afton's family? Let's actually talk about the animatronics in the character section since they feel more like actual characters in this movie. Of course, we have Charlotte slash the marionette, or who is also sometimes called the puppet. And in the games, the puppet is the good guy. She is the one who gave all the dead kids life after death in the animatronics. In the movie, however, because Charlotte was so angry when she died, the puppet wants vengeance on the parents who ignored her cries for help when she saw William Afton taking kids away. They also gave the puppet this new ability to not only possess multiple animatronics at a time, but she can also possess people. Some people might not like this change to the puppet, but I actually liked this change. I don't know how I feel about her being an antagonist, but I like how they utilized the music box. To me, it made sense with the character, and although the effect of Charlotte possessing people can look a bit weird and wonky at times, I actually thought it was pretty freaking creepy. Also, that opening scene where Afton kills Charlotte is one of the best parts of the movie, if not the best part. But the rest of the animatronics all look awesome and all get their own time to shine. We even get some very blink and you'll miss it moment cameos from the Shadow animatronics. But there was one animatronic that stole the screen from all the rest of them, and I think I know why. That animatronic was Toy Chica, who was voiced by Megan Fox. For some reason in this movie, Abby misses Chica the most. Even though in the previous movie, she never mentioned having a favorite animatronic, and Chica was the first animatronic that actually tried to kill her. Like, give Toy Bonnie and Toy Freddy a chance to have some screen time. I believe it is unfair to both Matt Pat and Kellen Goff to give them about 2 lines of dialogue each when one of them is an actual voice actor that has voiced animatronics in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise before, and I know Matt Pat's voice was changed so much that it was basically unrecognizable as him when he was Toy Bonnie. I even had a friend that didn't think he was in the movie. I know Toy Chica is more popular due to her hourglass build, and Megan Fox is a big actor for a movie like this. So I think the reason why Toy Chica had so much screen time was because they were milking that character and that voice actor for all that they had. Don't make that weird. But I just would have liked to have heard more from the animatronics. I mean, for God's sake, they have voices now. Let me hear their voices. And I just wish we got to see more of the withered animatronics. Speaking of which, the withered animatronics are basically here just to make references to the game FNAF 2 and to reference an old meme.
It's being a night guard!
They're just there to look pretty. But at least the animatronics from the first movie get to have a cool scene where they destroy the toy animatronics. Also, I was so happy
When Mike ripped Balloon Boy's head off.
that's for fucking with my flashlight, you little shit. And after all that, my feelings on the characters are very mixed. I still love Mike and William. I think they're still the best part of these movies. And for the most part, I love what they do with the animatronics. And while Vanessa and Abby did improve as characters, they both pissed me off at times, especially Vanessa. Also, can't wait to see more of Henry and Michael. Fuck you. Now, the story of this movie goes that after the events of the first movie, Mike and Abby have moved into a new house and are trying to move on from the trauma they went through in the last movie. Vanessa's even trying to move on from her trauma by not telling the truth. And although Abby does miss her animatronic friends, things seem to be looking up for the Schmidts. Until Abby gets a message from a talking toy with Toy Freddy's face on it. And it tells Abby that her friends are still alive and they need her help. Which leads to Abby finding the original pizzeria and getting tricked by the new toy animatronics. So now Mike and Vanessa have to find Abby and find out a way to take down these new animatronics, while also discovering new strange people and happenings at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Obviously, the story is way more complicated than that, but that is the gist of it. Also, while everything is going on with our protagonists, there is this event happening in town called FazFest, which from what I remember, started because Mike's aunt, who I forgot to mention is still alive somehow, started telling people about the possessed animatronics that were at Freddy's, and now people are obsessed with the brand all over again. There are so many little things that make this story come together in a way that kind of makes sense while also staying true to the lore of the games. Also, like I said in my review of the first movie, the fact that the story is so complicated makes it feel like a Five Nights at Freddy's movie to me. But don't get me wrong, this story definitely has its problems. They try to incorporate way too many storylines, characters, and lore into just one movie, so it makes the film feel a little overstuffed. But I do like the direction that they took with the story. I'm not gonna sit here and defend nothing, but I personally liked the story, and I think that a lot of FNAF fans would too. I'm gonna talk about the effects real quick. All the animatronics for this film were once again made by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and they all look fantastic. This time they made the toy animatronics able to walk around autonomously without the need for puppets or suit actors. I thought that was pretty impressive and a good step up from the first animatronics. There was one shot of William Afton falling down a balcony that I thought was a bit weird, but other than that, I think the effects all looked great. Now, despite the PG-13 rating, they were actually still able to get away with some pretty gnarly kills in this movie, such as when Toy Chica wants to see what's inside Wayne Knight's head and crushes it. But my favorite kill in the movie has to be when Mangle tears that camera guy apart. I loved the mixture of practical and digital effects to make that kill look so good. I'm loving the trend with the FNAF movies where they find a way to shock you with a really gory kill despite the PG-13 rating. Also, the That's Cash moment for me in this movie was definitely the opening scene where Charlotte gets killed, but I think a good honorable and unpopular pick for me would have to be when Mangle is on top of Vanessa's van, because that scene made me think that this would be a really good setup for an analog horror short where all the toy animatronics break out of the restaurant and start killing people around town. Overall, guys, I don't know if it's just my nostalgia for the franchise or what, but I still enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's 2, despite all the flaws that it has. I totally see why people hate it, and hey, if I wasn't already a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, I'd probably fucking hate it too. You won't catch me defending this movie in any way, but I'm still very much on board with the these characters and this franchise. I loved that we got to see more of the animatronics and the changes they made to animatronics like the marionette. And this movie just gets me so hyped for the third movie because that post-credit scene where those guys find William Afton in the back room had me so psyched. Don't know how Mike and Abby are going to survive being hunted down by Charlotte, William, and Michael, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So if you are a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, this movie is definitely worth a ticket. But if you're not a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's or you didn't enjoy the first movie, then I would say just to save a few dollars for when the movie comes out on streaming. And that's my review of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Hope you don't mind the new setup. I'm actually back home now, so this is gonna be my setup for a while. If you have seen Five Nights at Freddy's 2, please leave me your 2 cents on this movie in the comments. I expect an influx of hate comments soon. Please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the videos I have coming out before the end of the year. I have a very special video planned for the end of the year, so subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon.
This is what YouTube does to a man. It makes him get on his knees.